Something I just don't have to do anymore thanks to Copilot is, well, that's an easy one. That's building my own PowerPoint presentations myself from scratch. I happen to be a little bit colorblind or color deficient, and so it's very hard for me to tell what a good layout is. So working with Copilot to bring my information in from Excel or Word is really something that helps me build my presentations in a more visually compelling and accurate way.
Just another way that Copilot can make our work better, building on our strengths and also helping when we need a little bit of help. This is the first episode of the Frontier Partners podcast in 2026. I'm Fede Pacheco, and I'm thrilled to have you here as we share the opportunities that we have with our partners to go together in this competitive market and win the AI race. I'm joined today with Alexa Easley. Alexa, would you like to introduce yourself? And welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Fede. My name's Alexa Easley, as Fede mentioned. I sit on the Americas Enterprise Partner Solutions go-to-market strategy team, and I lead our business management and communications. And today's show is a playbook episode on how to thrive as a partner in 2026. We recently had an event that brought together leaders across our ecosystem, and the energy coming out of it is still very real. What stood out was the clarity, the momentum that we're seeing across the board. We have the products, the solutions, and the strategy, and customers are engaged. And now our partner ecosystem continues to be the force multiplier that turns all of that into the real impact we're looking for. But the thing is, this momentum isn't about who happens to be there in the room. It's about what each of us can do today, tomorrow, and over the next year to keep that momentum going. So the conversations at the event, they were grounded in execution, customer value, and moving together as an ecosystem. We've seen partners are really leaning into AI, going deeper by industry, and delivering outcomes that help customers reshape processes and accelerate toward becoming frontier firms. And our teams are aligned around the same priorities, which are focus, execution, and impact.
That's exactly right. And throughout those interactions, we got the chance to interview some of our leaders and some of our partners that are thriving in this world. So throughout this conversation, we're going to highlight some of those interviews that we were able to record, and we're going to structure it this way. First of all, we're going to talk about partner superpowers and the standout stories that really make a difference with our field and with our customers. Second, we're going to talk about our frontier pillars of success and some partner stories that light up all four of those frontier pillars. Third, we're going to bring the perspectives from our leaders. And throughout those three elements in the agenda, we're going to sprinkle more of those Copilot moments like the first one you saw. Because the common theme across all the interviews that we had with partners and our leaders was we had them draw a card to talk about how Copilot impacts their work, their day, and their lives. How does that sound, Alexa?
That sounds great. And actually, speaking of Copilot moments, why don't we see another way that our partners are using Copilot?
We're joined by Nathan and Howard from NRI. Howard, do you want to draw a card for Nathan?
Yes. A time Copilot surprised me in a meeting was probably the time when it laid out all of the action items and it listed out several that I had already forgotten. So nice. I was doing research in the meeting at the same time, and I was able to respond almost immediately to what was needed in the meeting at that time.
Partners grow faster when they can bring clarity to the conversation and prove a superpower that customers actually care about.
And like I said, we had the chance to interview many partners. And what we did is, instead of asking them for their superpower, we first prepared and asked Copilot, hey, based on the story, on the information that you have on this partner, what is their superpower? And let's build a persona and run it by the partner. So this was actually their reaction. And I think we selected three of them. Alexa, that all three were your questions. So you want to run us by those three one by one?
Aaron Machado, who is a practice lead at AdeQuest, talked about the quantum shield of zero trust superpower. We asked what AdeQuest superpower would be if you were a superhero, and it came back with a super shield of zero trust, able to fortify organizations. How do you feel about this?
Well, it's a very good framework. So we drive a lot of the conversations with our customers with the framework of zero trust. And that really helps to resonate what security means, understand and break it down in a way that the customer can understand, and we have a plan to work with. And Copilot leads to what's my security? How do I go about security? So having those things together really helps us drive the customer towards a faster adoption, I would say.
Our next example is Milan Patel, who's the head of global MDR at Blue Voyant. Let's take a look. We asked Copilot to generate what Blue Voyant would be as a superhero, and it came up with a tide turner. So basically, able to, feel the currents, the undercurrents, and change them so that they are, more calm, safe, and stable for the customer. How do you feel about that?
It feels right. I think what I like to share with our colleagues at Microsoft is Blue Voyant's one of the few companies that actually understands what's happening in the trenches with our customers. Using Copilot, from the get-go is not easy. Customers have to deploy other underlying tools to get Copilot to work successfully. So things like Microsoft Purview and Defender products and Sentinel, if you really want Copilot to shine, you've got to use these other tools fully deployed. And we spend a lot of time with our customers educating them how to use Copilot, but how to use the underlying tools to make Copilot more successful.
I love this one. And I love the confidence of how Copilot is not a thing on its own, but just a piece in the big puzzle. And, a security leader like Blue Voyant really brings it to life with their security knowledge.
Definitely, Fede. And our last example that we have is Gail Castles, who's Senior Director of Cloud Alliances at NTT Data. Speaking of Copilot, we asked what NTT Data superpower would be if it was a superhero. And it came up with a multi-armed AI agent orchestrator that's able to orchestrate all of the agents at once. What do you think about that?
Absolutely correct. Entity Data has such strong capabilities in the agentic AI space. We listen to our clients and we work on outcome-based solutions for our clients. And that is where we're seeing all of the traction today. We can see it is optimizing, it is reducing costs, it is looking at rationalization. Absolutely, that is our superpower.
I loved all of these. And I think you really nailed it in the beginning because the superpowers are something that bring a lot of clarity when you talk to the customer or when you're talking to a Microsoft seller and you're co-selling with them. And if we had to give you 3 pieces of advice, that's where it begins. The example that we did with Copilot in these 3 partner conversations resembles how it is in the market. You may have an intention of what your superpower or how you look as a superhero, but really it's how others perceive you. So my first piece of advice for you as a partner is that already check where your market perception is. You can ask Copilot, you can look at what your case studies and your marketing resembles, ask some customers and sellers that you work with what they already believe you're best at might be a good indication of where you're at or might point you in the right direction of where to pivot if you want to do something differently. Number 2 is lean into specific. Some people just want to say they're good at everything, and while overpowered superheroes might save the day, when you really want to highlight your specialty, then you got to be specific. And doesn't mean that's the only thing you're good at, but really like if you align to one metric, like one outcome that you can drive or one superpower that really resemble in a story with a customer and you're really specific for that industry to be precise or a solution area or a specific solution that you drive, that makes a whole difference. And finally, like I said, you start with one story, you build on it, replicate it with other similar customers, and you have repeatable proof and credibility, which is a perfect example for agents, right? You might begin deploying an agent with one customer, and then it becomes a template for others. So build on that and complement not only what you say you're good at with that metaphor, but also, how you walk the talk with customer stories.
Fede, I think that that's such great advice. I especially love number 3, building on the stories. I think you mentioned it and we've seen it where, partners want to be the best at everything all at once. And really the way to build that credibility is through, repeatable outcome-driven storytelling. So that's awesome. We'll jump back into another Copilot card draw. So let's take a look at another one.
We're joined by Hussein Sharaf, CEO of CloudForce. Hussein, pick a Copilot card.
The first thing I use Copilot for in the morning is catching up on all the meetings that I was supposed to attend the previous day that I forgot to attend, and it makes me feel like it's okay that I maybe missed the 3 meetings that I had all at the same time.
Superpowers tell the promise, but the pillars show how frontier firms operate to keep those promises.
And I know we mentioned these pillars in other episodes, and if you've been to our AI tours or any of our content day, you've seen them before. But we had the chance to interview partners here and tell us a story that resembles each of those 4 pillars. So with that, I think we just jump into the 4 pillars. Number 1 is enriching the employees' experiences, because it starts from within. How do you empower your people to do their best work? And best work means sometimes automating a process. It means unlocking their creativity. And in general, just supporting their continuous learning, because this never stops, right? And you'll hear that from our leaders over and over again.
That's right, Fede. Enriching employee experiences is foundational to our frontier approach. And I have a really exciting example to share with you from Margaret Hahn, who's associate partner at Reply. Let's see it.
When we think about the employee experience and we think about AI, people are really at the core of that AI doesn't mean anything if people aren't using it. And so really helping organizations transform. One great example is with BPM, thinking about taking, they had 50 licenses and transforming that into about 1,300 to 1,500. And then thinking about that at all the different layers of the organization.
I love that one and how they drove Copilot wall to wall in their customer organization. Up next, the second pillar that we have is reinventing customer engagement, which just means how to use AI to deliver a more personalization, more responsiveness, and just more meaningful interactions at every touch point with your customers. It doesn't always have to be a human touch point, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have to be outstanding.
Definitely. And this was showcased in Hussein Sharath's example, who's CEO at Cloudforce. I'm excited to watch how they reinvented customer engagement.
So I think when we think about being a frontier firm, we first think about how we use it internally at Cloudforce, but we also like to think about how our students in our customer environments are going to use it. And I think that's been probably the most rewarding thing about leveraging AI in the Microsoft ecosystem, is seeing how we can actually improve the student experience for things that are very mundane, like how can I select the right classes? How do I make sure that I'm in the right program? How do I find the gluten-free meal option on campus? They're using it for all sorts of things across all the universities that we support, and it's awesome to see.
I love education. That's a great story. Number 3 is reshaping business processes. So how do you move beyond incremental improvements? Yeah, something can go a little automated, a little faster, a little cheaper, but how do you actually reimagine the workflow, the operations, now with AI at its core? That is something that drives efficiency, agility, and really transforms your business process, like the name says.
Yeah. Efficiency and agility are the cornerstones of this example with Adam Carroll, who's VP of Strategic Partners at Tanium.
Speaking of frontier firm, we have 4 pillars of success. One of them is reshaping business process. Do you have a customer story that you want to share?
Well, too many for the time that we've got, but maybe I'll just pick one. Let's go with Best Buy. So we partnered with Microsoft with Best Buy. There's a public story on the Microsoft.com website about this. But essentially, they used the combination of Tanium, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, and Sentinel to completely re-architect the way they manage their security posture, the way their teams operate, and it's even helped them create a situation where their SecOps team and their IT team are able to partner more collaboratively together. The true definition of changing your business processes for a more secure outcome.
That one is a great one. Now, last but not least is bending the curve on innovation. How do you accelerate the pace of innovation by giving every team the tools and the intelligence to experiment, to iterate, and to bring new ideas to market faster?
Earlier in the podcast, I mentioned my conversation with Gail Castles, but she gave a great example on how NTT Data bent the curve on innovation. So let's hear from Gail, who is the Senior Director of Cloud Alliances. One of the things that we've been talking about are the 4 pillars of becoming frontier, one of them being bending the curve of innovation. How is NTT Data doing this for their customers?
We are absolutely, as I said, looking for that business outcome. So we've stopped talking about what technology should you have. We're thinking about actually what does the customer want and need. Great use case for you. Entity Data has a client who covers the 4 areas of the framework success, the frontier framework success pillars. A leading consumer manufacturer here in the Americas, they mandated a cost-saving activity that did not impact their workforce. Entity Data identified a solution where we would go after potentially their IT operations management spend. We created a solution with agentic AI running on low-code agentics, and the client has absolutely loved it. We now have 5 production agents in the AI factory, and they are immediately seeing cost saving. The greatest result is we're going to take out their IT operations management and put agentics in there. It's phenomenal.
That is great, really. 5 production agents, the multi-armed, like we were joking about earlier. It just is the best example of how do you go from, implementing AI a little bit into making it your competitive advantage in the market. And just the human element to it is just absolutely great. As we wrap up this section, I do want to bring our 3 elements of the approach. So as we think about the 4 elements of the framework or pillars, now we also have the way we approach them. In summary, if you got to take these 3 lessons, they are, number 1, how do you put AI in the flow of human ambition? So really, how do you embed intelligence into how people are already working? That's why I personally love Copilot so much, because we're already using the tools. I'm a big Excel guy, big PowerPoint guy, big Outlook guy, big Teams guy. How do I embed Copilot into the flow of what I'm doing so that I'm a better employee? How am I smarter, more creative, and achieve all of that? Number 2 is ubiquitous innovation. And I apologize because that's a hard word for me to pronounce as a non-native speaker. But, aside from the buzzword ubiquitous, what it means is that everyone in the organization can create, iterate, and solve problems. So really democratizing intelligence to make sure everybody has a maker mindset. To me, what a partner can learn from this is if you're deploying Copilot wall to wall, like the reply example, that means that everybody can have a chance to innovate. It's kind of like you're planting the seeds, and then you progressively start catching how these plants, flourish and grow. Some might lead to bigger ROI. Some maybe you invest in later because they're not proven yet. But once you have everything covered, you can really give everybody a chance for that potential. And finally, observability in every layer. So governance and visibility have never been more critical. We expect 1.3 billion agents by 2027. And that means how do we ensure that every one of those agents, the workflows associated with them and the business outcomes all are observable, secure, and aligned with the goals that the organization has. That's why innovations that we had at Ignite, like Agent 365, will play a big role in this. And we got to help our customers make sure they can implement this efficiently and securely.
We talked earlier about, at the event, we were able to speak to some of our internal Microsoft leaders as well. And we were able to ask them some questions on how they used Copilot. So let's take a look.
We're joined by Heather Deggans, who is our SDC lead or software development company lead at Microsoft. Heather, pick a card.
All right. Thank you. All right. When I jump into a new project or role, I use Copilot too. So I have a personal experience with Copilot. I recently relocated from the Seattle area back down to Dallas, Texas, where we're from. And we use Copilot to plan the entire trip, the entire itinerary. So we basically put in prompts that said, we don't want to drive more than 10 hours a day. We need pet-friendly Marriott hotels, develop an itinerary for you. And we had our full 4-day driving itinerary within like 30 seconds.
I love this example. It becomes a little more human and relatable. And not everything is about work, but it also shows the ROI is clear, right? How do you make sure all your checks are accounted for?
Absolutely. I think I need to be using Copilot to plan my next vacation or road trip. Now let's pivot a bit, and we're going to talk about our leaders' perspectives on becoming customer zero and really embodying the frontier pillars and what that means for us. So I had a chance to talk with Lori Borg, who is a VP of the Enterprise Partner Solutions go-to-market strategy team, alongside Tony Surma, who's the CTO of the Enterprise Partner Solutions team. And I asked them about embracing our frontier framework and what that looks like in practice. We've talked a lot about frontier transformation. Lori and Tony, what does that mean as a partner?
Very dear and near to my heart. I think transformation that is frontier starts with the individuals. So I think number one is for our partners to be customer zero in their own organizations. And I think it's easy for us as partners or even at Microsoft to talk about what we're building that's AI and how we're going to go do this thing or launch this program that's AI. But we need to first hold the mirror up and go, what am I personally doing every single day with intentionality to use AI and to become more frontier as an individual? And then I can scale that to my teams and create ideas and energy around becoming frontier as a team. And I think for me, one of the big things too is not just slapping a little bit of AI on an existing process to automate or optimize it, but it's taking a couple of steps back from the process to say, how could we do this differently in this new frontier era? So for me, it starts with being customer zero as a partner. And that doesn't just mean the team holistically, but that means me and every single individual at a very individual level.
Tony?
So first of all, I'd absolutely agree with everything you said. I think the other thing we find is sort of history repeats itself. So in the early days of the cloud, one of the best things partners could do is do it well and then use themselves as a use case for their customers. I think that's very true in AI. So take everything that Lori said, do that well yourself, and then your ability to transform yourself becomes your own win wires, your own use cases to take to your customers. And then it also is unique in AI because right now, kind of what you can do is limited by your imagination, but your imagination is sometimes limited. So getting that view from a partner of what's possible and where you can go with your imagination, that opens up a lot more opportunities with customers.
Love that. Your imagination is sometimes limited. It is. And that's a big thing that Copilot can help unlock as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Our final question. What are your Microsoft teams doing to help with this journey?
Oh, good. All right. So I lead our go-to-market organization inside of the Enterprise Partner Solutions business. And some of the things that my team do are very intentionally making sure that our partners know what incentives are available to them. One of the best ways that our partners can build, sell, and market alongside Microsoft is leveraging those incentives that they are eligible for. So making sure partners are aware of that, making sure that partners know best practices and resources that Microsoft has available from a go-to-market, marketing, sales, industry perspective. So there's a lot of great resourcing that's out there that we want to make sure that partners know about, that it continually is getting updated and simplified. So a lot of that is just education, creating some energy and awareness around some of the great resources that we have under the MAI CPP or Microsoft AI Partner Program umbrella that we want to make sure that all of our partners are leveraging.
Thanks, Lori.
Yeah, and one of the things is our teams work together so much. We work with every partner across everything we do. So take everything that Lori said and complement with the fact that you need to get ready with skills, your specializations, designations. You need to be able to know what's coming next in technology. That's the first thing that our team does with our partners. Then we make sure they build solutions that can actually go to market, can be repeatable, can be profitable and align with our incentives. So we make sure they get the quality out there and align with what our field sales wants. And then lastly, a project that goes nowhere is just a project. So we help activate that. How do you actually get out there, do that initial co-sell, see it's working? Inevitably, there's going to be some design choices that weren't great. We can help you sort of evolve that and get better and faster as you go.
We always tell partners, you need to drive customer outcomes. You need to drink your own champagne too and be your own customer zero. But it's also great to share a little bit of how my organization, which is the same as yours, and also our sibling organizations within the Enterprise Partner Solutions team works. And it's great that Lori and Tony highlighted how we operate and what Frontier means for us and how we're transforming and challenging ourselves. Now, to wrap this segment up, I do want to bring two conversations that we had with partners where they also shared how they are being customer zero. The first one you did, which is with Tech Systems. Matthew Dolan is the industry sales leader, and they talked about a customer story that is actually published right now.
Tell me about your experience as customer zero and how it's had an impact on your organization.
Yeah, our organization, our customer zero story is something we're really proud of. Our organization invested 5 figures worth of Copilot from 365 licenses. The 2 big stories we love telling are 2 agents we built with Copilot Studio. One is a language translation agent that we built, Copilot Studio. It's for our French Canadian business, saved us hundreds of thousands of hours. And I believe there's a multi-million-dollar time saving or productivity gained. The other is a PTO calculator. We have a large consultant population across our organization. Tracking PTO is a 5-day SLA. We built an agent for the large majority on Copilot Studio. Once again, multi-million-dollar time saved.
And our second customer zero story is from Lauren Schwartz from Accenture. She's the partner development lead, and she shared a really exciting Copilot specific example.
So for Accenture, we are our own best credential, and we always like to start these implementations with ourselves, so we're better positioned to help our clients and customers on those same journeys. So just for context, Accenture is massive, right? So on that scale, any solution we implement has to be secure, highly scalable, and safe and compliant, right? So we are really excited that we are Microsoft's largest deployment in the world of Microsoft Copilot. We have 125,000 Copilot seats. We also have 12,000 developers using GitHub Copilot, and that has accelerated build time by 50%. So really incredible results. We're also starting to reimagine end-to-end business processes with AI agents, multi-agent orchestration. And so that's been really incredible. We're seeing efficiency gains of up to 30%, and not just thinking about how work gets done today, but really reimagining the future frontier of work. So really completely transforming those workflows.
I love that example that Lauren gave, and I also loved the conversation that I got to have with her. At the beginning of our conversation, I also got to ask her to pull a Copilot card, and so let's see how she's using Copilot.
It really does change your day. Now, as we continue our part of this conversation talking about our Microsoft leaders, we also had the chance to talk to Heather Deggans, who leads our software development companies, formerly known as ISV, and then Jim Lee, who leads the services partners. For them, we asked the same questions just to bring different perspectives of what is the best way to partner together with our key partners in 2026. So let's take a look at both of their answers. The first question we made was, what makes top partners or high-performing partners thrive in 2026?
I mean, the market is evolving so quick, is stating the obvious. Really just staying connected and looking end to end. I actually gave a keynote this morning at Accelerate, and the things that we were talking about was really co-build, which is really co-innovation, co-market, and co-sell. And how do we think about that as an end-to-end journey versus just doing one or the other? And so when we think about co-innovation, it's really working with our tech team and really looking at how we're building amazing solutions on the Azure platform. Co-marketing, very near and dear to your heart, is how are we going to market once we have that product and that solution? And then finally, but very important, is co-sell. How are we getting our partner sellers together with our Microsoft sellers on joint customers?
I mean, obviously, understanding our product sets, the future of Microsoft, where we're heading, AI business solutions, being very deep in our AI products, partners being customer zero, right? So adopting the technology internally, making sure that they're leveraging it internally, and then scaling out our products with their customers. Because as we know, the more that they're using it internally, we can have confidence they can deliver with success overall. And then solid partners also obviously drive ACR. I know partners don't like the word PAL tagging, but making sure they're tagging the work that they're doing so it shows up in our metrics. And really being forward first as far as our AI agenda and kind of where we're headed as an organization.
I love what Jim said. Really deeply understanding Microsoft's AI strategy is so important to, for our partners to thrive. And it's really why we're here to help bring them along the AI journey and make sure that they are set up for success. The second question that we asked was, what makes the PDM and partner relationship truly thrive?
Now let's talk about the PDM or development manager. What are partners that are really thriving with them doing?
Yeah, I think really seeing the PDM as an extension of their team and having that trust and transparency. And we want the PDM to see the partner as an extension of their team. And so really having that integration back and forth, regular communication, being transparent, building the trust, and then being able to extend that beyond the PDM to our sellers and other folks within the Microsoft family.
Well, first, it starts with focus and planning. So the best PDMs work with their partners to really build out a partner business plan, strategically look at the workloads that they want to go after, measure those workloads, ideally define OKRs, so objectives and key results, and how they're going to drive success. And then the best PDMs are trusted by their partners, and they count on them to help drive revenue, and they're helping guide the strategy of that partner.
And then the last of our leaders who we got to connect with was Nina Harding, who is the CVP and leads the America's Enterprise Partner Solutions team. We asked her to answer a Copilot prompt card. Let's see what she got and what she said.
We're joined by Nina Harding, Corporate Vice President of America's Enterprise Partner Solutions. Nina, draw a card.
Ooh, what's my magic card? I've got this one. If Copilot went away tomorrow, the thing I'd miss the most is, oh my gosh, it helps organize my entire life. It makes me much more efficient. It makes me sound much smarter than I am. So,
Nina, what is the message for your partners in 2026?
2026 is an amazing year for us. I feel like we have the products and the solutions in place. We have the strategy in place. We have the momentum with the customers. And we have the most amazing partner ecosystem. So now it's about getting us all aligned and moving together and landing these opportunities to really drive value with our customers.
Nina, we asked all the partners we've interviewed today what their superpower is. What do you think our superpower at EPS is?
Oh my gosh. Well, EPS is a superpower for our partners. The reality is that we are so dedicated to our partner success, but we also have the history and the experience to make sure that we know what wins in market together, the investments that we need to make in partners so that they're successful, and an incredible sales force around the globe to go co-sell with. So I think our superpower is really how we bring all of our experience in that sales force together to make it work for our partners.
I love what Nina said. It's just really our advantage when we are moving together faster than the market, and we have all the tools, all the solutions, but also the desire to partner together. Alexa, we're wrapping up our episode. I'm so glad to have you here for the first, but hopefully not the last time. So, you're probably going to listen to this in a little bit, but as you watch all of our interviews and you saw all of our analysis to it, what is one insight that you carry and you will take with you for 2026?
Yeah, well, first, Fede, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. There's two that come to mind, but I'll start with the first one. An insight really that I've learned through our conversations with customers, my conversations with you, are how many use cases there are for Copilot. I mean, really, the world is your oyster. I thought that I've been, unlocking all the productivity hacks, and I've learned so many more, and I know that there are so many more to learn. So it's really just exciting what we can do with Copilot. And then I just, will reiterate something that Nina said, which is just, executing together the value and the impact that it creates, the trust that it creates with Microsoft and our partners. It's tangible, it's palpable at the event. It's so great to see. And I think it's going to set not only us, but our partners up for, success in 2026.
I love that, Alexa. We're really privileged to have you today. And for our listener, think a little bit about what you can do with all that you learned through this podcast episode. What is one actionable goal that you can have in 2026 that maybe you can start this week? Maybe it's a habit with Copilot that was sparked by one of the inspiration conversations that we had. Or what is one workflow that you can redesign in your team as customer zero? Or one win you can bring to one of your customers based on previous customers? Maybe one that you're really proud of that you hadn't had the time to put on a slide and say, how can I become really specific with what the superpower is that we showed through this win? Regardless of that, we'd love to hear it. So we're always open to hearing what your stories are. Hopefully we can bring them to life with you, to our field, to our customers. So please reach out to us on LinkedIn. Tell us how we can help. Where do you need clarity? Who do we connect you with? And think about those touch points. Like you're already working with our teammates, our PDMs, our PSAs, our PTSs. So whoever you're working with, of course, our marketing team, we'd love to have you bring these learnings with you and tell us where you want to go next. Until next time, it was awesome having you here, Alexa, and awesome to share this event experience with you.
Thank you so much, Fede. It was great being here.
Thank you for joining us on the Microsoft Frontier Partners Podcast. To connect with us, visit ak.ms/Frontier Partners. Until next time, stay curious and keep pushing your frontier.